On paper, BMW's upcoming iX3 electric SUV looked like it would be a really good fit for the US marketplace. It's powered by a 74 kilowatt-hour usable battery pack. It promises a range of around 220 miles per charge. And while it is not all-wheel drive, its 210 kilowatt rear-wheel drivetrain should have more than enough power to ensure that it's no slouch. And of course, it's a compact SUV, making it great for city dwellers who want an SUV, but for whom perhaps a larger vehicle would also be a problem. It also happens to be based on a BMW iX3, a car that's enjoyed increasingly large sales figures around the world in the last few years. Yet we've just heard the news that BMW has cancelled its plans to bring the iX3 to the US, while BMW is committing to launching the iX3 in China, Europe and other markets in the world starting this year. The US launch is no more. Sadly, it's not the first automaker to pull out or delay electric car launches in the US. So what exactly is going on? Who's to blame? Well, sadly, the reasons are multiple, and I should point out that the reasons I'm giving here are based on my experience and knowledge in the industry. I'm not talking for BMW, nor am I parroting anything BMW has said. I think this is essentially the perfect storm of economics, politics, battery shortages, and differing regulations worldwide. And as a side, I'm pretty sure I'm going to upset at least someone in the video, so here comes a disclaimer. I'm probably going to discuss things that will upset some of you, and in exploring these, I'm not looking to make excuses or directly apportion blame. So please, before you rail and rant in the comments section, know that I'm bringing topics up today because I feel they have a contextual relevance. And frankly, our job is to report the news and add context, so anyway, let's start with the obvious: regulatory pressure. In the age of a president who's gone on the record calling climate change a hoax and blames the media for spreading disinformation on the same and the current looming pandemic, we're seeing a very lax attitude in the US towards reducing carbon emissions. The EPA has been under constant attack from those seeking to remove or reduce emissions regulations since the 2017 inauguration, and that's resulted in a lot less pressure being placed on the auto industry to clean up its act and sell more electric vehicles. Simply put, the current administration wants to make it easier, not harder, for automakers to sell polluting vehicles, while also railing against incentives designed to increase electric vehicle adoption rates, like tax credits and the US Advanced Vehicle Technology Manufacturing Loan Program, both of which are scheduled to be dismantled. Does this mean BMW and other automakers don't want to produce electric vehicles? Well, that's complicated. At some level, I'm sure some executives are less keen on electric vehicles than others, and there is still kickback. But with Tesla and other brands showing there is demand for electric vehicles, so-called legacy automakers have to choose between making electric cars or missing out. And for what it's worth, I personally still believe that there's enough evidence to suggest that these legacy automakers are slowly coming around to making electric cars, both because they must in order to remain relevant, but also because in some markets, electric cars are the only way they're going to meet tough emission standards. Which brings us demand elsewhere in the world. In markets like Europe, increasingly tough emissions requirements designed to force automakers to transition towards zero-emission vehicles mean that companies like Mercedes-Benz and BMW are focusing on bringing as many electric as well as electrified vehicles to market as quickly as possible. And alongside these emissions requirements and massive fines for automakers who do not meet them, many countries are increasing their incentives for consumers wanting to buy electric vehicles. Earlier this year, Germany gave a massive boost to its electric vehicle incentive program, and it's among many European nations driving hard to encourage its citizens to make the switch. With automakers under a lot of pressure to deliver in those markets, as well as purchase incentives for customers making those vehicles more affordable and attractive to customers, it's natural that those markets are being prioritised ahead of one in which the government is actively trying to discourage, or at best fail to encourage, electric vehicle adoption. And then we get the triple whammy: limited battery supplies. For the companies which have not made the decision to make cells in-house, there's another video there, this is a major supply problem for traction batteries for electric cars. Heck, even companies that do make their own batteries are still finding a limited supply. Tesla, for example, is buying in cells even though it's making its own. When companies don't get the batteries they need to produce the vehicles in the volumes they'd originally hoped, they will naturally focus on markets where they know the cars will sell and where support and charging infrastructure will be good. Thus, Europe gets precedence over the US. And while there are some markets in the US where automakers must sell electric cars and where electric vehicle infrastructure is very good, BMW already has the i3 on sale in the US, and it can simply push that instead. The final thing is competition. At an expected price of around $50,000, the compact iX3 and its mid-range capabilities would have struggled to sell in a market that's about to get the Tesla Model Y. I don't necessarily think this is a case of Tesla scaring BMW out of the market, but rather that if BMW feels it would have to work hard uphill to gain market share in a market where Tesla already has a hold and where the government isn't wholly supporting electric vehicles, then why should it bother when it can focus instead on a market where electric vehicles are supported and where sales are far, far more likely? So what do we learn from all of this? Well, it's pretty simple. Automakers are like other businesses. They'll opt for the less risky path if it promises a decent income rather than them taking a massive risk and none. And that says a lot for the difference between some companies and others. Frankly, I am frustrated and disappointed that this car isn't coming to the US because I believe there is a market for the iX3 among the many tens of thousands of BMW X3 owners who might be looking for a new car, among all the other potential customers. And I also think that this is the perfect storm, one that should trouble anyone who wants to see more electric cars on the roads of the world. While electric vehicles are coming down in terms of price to produce, they're still not at a point where they're truly affordable throughout all economic strata of society. Without more incentives and more support, there's going to be an unwelcome delay until they are. They're close, but they're not there yet. And to those who say it's good that BMW is pulling out of the US for the iX3 launch because Tesla dominates and are far better than anyone else anyway, and that it's all BMW's fault, well, frankly, that's a short-sighted response. In order to transition the world to cleaner, greener, safer and smarter vehicles, we need every single automaker to switch to electric. That transition is starting. And by celebrating a car not coming to market because you're unhappy about that company has behaved in the past misses the point. It's another electric car that won't have a chance to be purchased. And that's something we should most certainly not be cheering. That's it. Thanks for watching. And if you'd like to help us make more videos like this, please do like, comment and subscribe. Send us a couple of dollars our way every month through Patreon, feed our coffee habit with Ko-fi, or buy some swag from our swag store. I'll be back soon with more content for you all to enjoy, but until then, keep evolving.